Thanks to all the subscribers. Please like, subscribe, and comment. With that out of the way, let's get into it. On February 27th, 2007, New Orleans police officers responded to a shooting in the 9000 block of Oleander Street at its intersection with Hollygrove Street. Upon arrival, officers located Aaron Allen, aka Chicken, who was suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Allen told officers that he was walking from Hamilton's food store, located at the corner of Hamilton and Fig Streets. When he reached the intersection of Oleander and Hollygrove, he was approached by two black males whom he knew from the neighborhood. The two subjects asked Allen about $10 that he owed them for drugs. At that time, the two subjects shot the victim and fled in an unknown direction. Allen told officers that he did not know the subjects' names or nicknames, but stated that they lived in the neighborhood and he could identify them if he saw them again. On March 25th, 2007, Aaron Allen, aka Chicken, succumbed to his injuries. The coroner's office classified his death as a homicide. During the course of this federal investigation, agents located a cooperating witness who would testify that Aaron Allen, aka Chicken, owed Theron Golston some money for drugs. This witness described Allen as a regular drug user. On the day of the shooting, Carey Jones and Theron Golston were at Jack's store when they saw Chicken. Golston and Jones ran back to Golston's trailer and got their guns. Jones had a Beretta 9mm pistol, and Golston had a Jennings 9mm pistol. When they returned to the store, Chicken was no longer there. They eventually found him walking on the street. When they did, Golston confronted Chicken and said, "You got my money?" Chicken responded, "Man, I got you tomorrow." At that point, they both shot at him and he fell in the empty lot by some bushes. Police arrived on the scene and spoke to Allen. He was then transported to a hospital where he was treated for his gunshot wounds. The police were unable to locate any other witnesses to this shooting. By acknowledging these facts, Theron Golston admits that he shot and killed Aaron Allen, aka Chicken. In August 2007, Ryan Carroll, a member of the Hollygrove group, broke into a house belonging to BC, who was a drug dealer and an associate of the Hell City group. While in BC's house, Ryan Carroll stole drug money, approximately $7,000, and other items from BC. Shortly thereafter, Ryan Carroll was arrested by law enforcement authorities for this crime, but was released from jail on a bond. In an effort to get BC to drop the charges, Ryan Carroll had his uncle, who was also a known drug dealer, speak to BC on his behalf. On December 24th, 2007, Tyronne Stevenson, Walter Conley, Norman Ratcliff, Carey Jones, and Theron Golston decided to rob several members of the Hell City group that were participating in a dice game in the 1700 block of Cambron Street of their drugs and money. During this confrontation, LW, who was associated with the members of Hell City, was shot while running from the scene. Members of Hell City also returned fire, and Norman Ratcliff, who is a member of the Hollygrove group, was struck in the leg. NOPD responded to the scene and located 13 7.62 caliber casings, which were all discharged from an assault weapon that was fired by Carey Jones. Immediately following the incident, Tyronne Stevenson, Walter Conley, Norman Ratcliff, and Carey Jones went back to the Hollygrove area. Since Norman Ratcliff was shot, it was decided that he needed medical attention, and he was brought to the hospital by Theron Golston and Walter Conley. NOPD interviewed Norman Ratcliff at Ochsner Hospital. Norman Ratcliff lied and told the police that he was shot at General Ogden and Olive Streets. He also told police that he had been brought to the hospital by Theron Golston and Walter Conley. Conley was also interviewed by the police at the hospital, but denied any knowledge of the shooting. Golston left the hospital before he could be interviewed. NOPD went to General Ogden and Olive Streets and found no evidence of a shooting at that location. 2 days later, on December 26, 2007, NOPD officers responded to a 911 call of a shooting that took place in the 8800 block of Olive Street. When officers arrived on the scene, they found Walter Conley, a.k.a. Ike Neasy, suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. Conley was alert and told the police he was riding bikes with a friend and was shot in a drive-by by an unknown person in a white SUV. It should be noted that at the time of the shooting, Walter Conley was wearing a shirt that belonged to Tyronne Stevenson. Based on a follow-up investigation, it was determined that this was a retaliatory shooting by members of Hell City for the shooting 2 days earlier at the dice game. Additionally, during this investigation, federal agents were able to locate a telephone call from 2009 by Walter Conley from the Orleans Parish Jail. In this call, Conley spoke with a member of Hell City and indicated that he had shot him in the head back in December 2007 and that he was going to retaliate further. During this call, Conley also brags to others in the background about his intent to retaliate. This phone call is additional proof that the feud between these two groups of individuals continued for several years and is an example of how the defendants continue to commit crimes of violence in an effort to maintain or increase their position in the enterprise. Based on information received from a cooperating defendant, it was discovered that on December 26, 2007, at approximately 12 p.m., Norman Ratcliff, Carey Jones, Burnell Williams, and others were passengers in a black four-door Pontiac Grand Prix driven by Tyronne Stevenson when Stevenson was involved in a two-car accident. Stevenson and the others, upon receiving a telephone call informing them that Walter Conley had been shot, were traveling from the West Bank to the Pigeontown area of New Orleans to retaliate against Hell City. After the vehicle accident, all of the occupants fled the scene but were eventually apprehended by police. In extinguishing the fire department and police on the scene discovered 3 firearms secreted beneath the hood of the vehicle. Subsequent ballistics examination confirmed that the RICO Mac 90 7.62 caliber assault rifle recovered from the scene of the accident was the firearm used by Jones, Conley, Norman Ratcliff, and Stevenson during the shooting of LW on December 24th, 2007. On August 26, 2008, at approximately 2:10 in the afternoon, an innocent victim, Lionisha Dorothy, was driving a 1998 black Chevrolet Monte Carlo with tinted windows near the corner of Palm and Hollygrove when she heard a loud sound. She quickly realized that she had been shot through the passenger side door. Bullet fragments were found in the trunk and inside the passenger door. While she observed 2 males running from the scene, she could not make any identification and never saw anyone actually shooting. She went to the hospital but made a full recovery. During this follow-up investigation by the ATF, several recorded calls were found where the defendants spoke about this incident. In a call, which took place on August 26, 2008, at 5:22 in the evening, Ryan Carroll, a.k.a. Ronnie Boo, called home and spoke to Carey Jones, a.k.a. Bean. Perfect. Jones said they just had a boy pull around here, and Theron Golston had that bitch live, shot at the car. This is another example of how they bragged about the violent crime they committed in an effort to increase their position and earn the respect of the other members in the enterprise. In a call which was recorded on August 27th, 2008 at 7:39 in the evening, Ryan Carroll, a.k.a. Ronnie Boo, called Norman Ratcliff, who told him about the incident that took place the day before on Palm and Hollygrove, the location of the Lionisha Dorothy shooting. A cooperating witness would testify that for a few days leading up to the day of the shooting, a black Monte Carlo had been seen in the area on multiple occasions. The members of Hollygrove believed that this vehicle belonged to the members of Hell City, specifically GS and GS Carey Jones, and Theron Golston had discussed this vehicle and agreed that the next time they saw the car, they would open fire on its occupants. The cooperating witness would testify that Theron Golston did, in fact, shoot at the vehicle the next time it drove past using a .40 caliber handgun. Golston admits that He fired at this vehicle to maintain his position in the enterprise and to gain the respect of his associates. During the ATF investigation, federal agents also located several recorded telephone calls that took place between September 9th, 2008 and September 14th, 2008. During a call which was recorded on September 9th, 2008 at 7:42 in the evening, Tyronne Stevenson, a.k.a. Duke, calls Norman Ratcliff, a.k.a. Turk, and also talks to Carey Jones, a.k.a. Bean. During the conversation, they talk about guns and how Black Arthur Harris, another unindicted co-conspirator, was able to get guns for them. In a call which was recorded on September 14, 2008 at 4:14 in the afternoon, Stevenson, a.k.a. Duke, calls China Stewart, who places a three-way call to Jones, a.k.a. Bean. During the call, Jones tells Stevenson, "I've been coming through all day, son," meaning that he had been selling drugs. Jones then tells Stevenson that Ike had just made 2 more. "We just brung that to her," referring to the fact that they had made $200 from selling drugs and brought the money to Ms. China. They also talk about a recent shooting in which they were involved on September 14th, 2008 in Jefferson Parish. In a call which was recorded on September 14th, 2008 at 4:30 in the afternoon, Stevenson, a.k.a. Duke, calls his girlfriend. She says that China Stewart is sending all of the members of the group out on the street to sell ice cream, crack, cocaine in an effort to raise money to bond him, Stevenson, out of jail. She also says that China Stewart wanted to give her some ice cream to sell, but she said she did not want to because she did not know how to do it correctly, sell crack cocaine. Another call, which was recorded on September 14th, 2008 at 9:01 in the evening, Burnell Williams, a.k.a. Bussy, calls JR. She tells him that all your partners are working off something, selling crack cocaine in an effort to raise money for a bond. She also tells them that Norman Ratcliff, a.k.a. Turk, had a party, participated in a shooting in Jefferson Parish. On September 13, 2008, at approximately 10:30 p.m., JPSO officers responded to an aggravated battery by shooting of JJ, JB, and DS in the 2333 Alex Kornman Drive, Harvey, Louisiana. These 3 individuals suffered non-lethal gunshot wounds to their bodies. At the time of the incident, Norman Ratcliff was living with his mother at 2321 Alex Kornman Drive. Through a follow-up investigation, ATF agents were able to pull telephone calls from the Orleans Parish Prison. In a call made on September 13, 2008 at 9:35 p.m., Tyronne Stevenson, also known as Duke, calls to the residence of Norman Ratcliff, known as Turk, and speaks first to Walter Conley, known as Ike, and then to Ratcliff. Conley tells Stevenson that Ratcliff had gotten into a verbal altercation with another individual from the area. Stevenson then speaks directly with Ratcliff, who identifies that he had been disrespected by someone in the area, and this same individual had called him names and embarrassed him in front of a group of people. During the call, Ratcliff can be heard answering another phone and identifying the caller as Bean, which is Carey Jones. Norman Ratcliff confirms with Jones that Jones is on his way to the Alex Kornman address. According to a cooperating witness, Carey Jones, also known as Bean, and Theron Golston later arrived at the Alex Kornman location to bring firearms to Norman Ratcliff, specifically a MAC 90 7.62 caliber assault rifle and a handgun. When they arrived, Ratcliff took the assault rifle and went to look for the target. After initially being unable to locate him, Ratcliff later returned outside and found the target and began shooting at him. Golston, who was with Ratcliff, also fired at the victims with a handgun. Immediately following the shooting, and before the police arrived to investigate, Ratcliff, Conley, Jones, and Golston all left the area and returned to Hollygrove. On September 14th, 2008, at 4:14, Tyronne Stevenson, Duke, calls from Orleans Parish Prison and speaks to Carey Jones, Bean. Jones tells Stevenson that they had a whole party last night, referring to the shooting. Stevenson asks if it occurred on the other side of the river, referring to Jefferson Parish, and Jones confirms that that was where the shooting happened. On September 14, 2008, NOPD officers responded to an aggravated battery by shooting of Paul May, who later died from his injuries. While on the scene, officers were approached by witnesses who told officers that the shooter fled to 3526 Hollygrove Street, which is the residence of Ryan Carroll and Carey Jones, and is located within half of a block from the murder scene. Officers went to that location and met with Hallett Ann Carroll, the mother of Ryan Carroll and Carey Jones, who signed a consent to search form for her residence. Ann Carroll told officers that her son, Carey Jones, also known as Bean, and his friends had been in and out all night. Other witnesses had told officers that many firearms were kept at or under the same residence. While checking the room of Carey Jones, officers observed rounds of ammunition and drug paraphernalia, including a mirror with cocaine residue, a razor blade, baggies, boxes of baggies, and a scale, all of which are commonly used in the packaging of crack cocaine for retail sale. In securing the rear yard of the house, officers met with Walter Conley, also known as Ike Neasy, who had a joint in his hand. Officers also found a 9mm Tech 9 semi-automatic handgun on the ground near Conley. As Conley was being escorted from the house, one of the witnesses told officers that Conley was the one who shot the victim, Paul May. Officers looked under the house and saw a cache of firearms. They obtained a search warrant and recovered the following: a Norinco Sporter MAC 90 7.63 assault rifle, an Armalite M16A2 .23 assault rifle, SNG US 11-12179, an Astra Model A80 45 caliber pistol, SN J3652, an AR-15 magazine with 24 rounds of 2.23 MAK-90 magazine with 27.62 rounds, 14 9mm rounds of ammunition, an empty box of 45 caliber rounds, a MAK-90 magazine, and 2 7.62 rounds, 9 Remington rounds, a handgun magazine, an Intratec Tech 9 9mm pistol, SN 26496, and 130-round 9mm magazine with 24 rounds of ammunition. Note, a Ruger P9S 9mm pistol was also recovered from inside the residence. Hallett Ann Carroll claimed ownership of this weapon. Arthur Harris, also known as Black, and Ray Mine was inside the residence with Carey Jones, Bean, when the police arrived. Both were placed under arrest for illegal possession of firearms and drug paraphernalia. A cooperating defendant has stated that at the time of the shooting, Conley, Harris, and Jones were walking from a local bar in the Hollygrove area when they encountered the victim, Paul May. Conley asked Paul May, "How much you got?" Paul May responded that he did not have anything, indicating that he did not want to buy any crack cocaine from Conley. Conley became angry and pulled out a 45 caliber firearm and pointed it at the victim. The victim began to run, at which point Conley shot Paul May several times. After the first shot, Arthur Harris and Carey Jones fled down the street to Jones's house. Conley shot Paul May several more times and then fled to Jones's house as well, arriving within a few minutes, where he discarded the murder weapon under the back of the house. Later that night, Paul May was pronounced dead. According to the autopsy protocol, Paul May was the victim of a homicide, which resulted from being shot several times by a firearm. The 45 caliber semi-automatic handgun that was located under the house has been ballistically matched by ballistics experts at the NOPD crime lab to the casings at the scene of the murder of Paul May. In short, it is the murder weapon. ATF agents were able to locate numerous recorded telephone calls from the defendants. On September 15, 2008, at 5:45 a.m., Carey Jones, Bean, calls Norman Ratcliff, Turk. Jones tells Ratcliff that they are hit, meaning the police found all of their guns and ammunition. Jones and Conley also talked to Theron Golston, Thema, about the incident. Golston then speaks to Conley, and they discuss a crackhead who may be fatting or speaking to the police about the murder. Theron Golston, also known as Thema 23, a resident of New Orleans, was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Stanwood R. Duvall, Jr. to serve the remainder of his life in prison for violating federal RICO, drug conspiracy, firearms conspiracy, and murder charges. He is currently at USP Coleman II, a high-security U.S. penitentiary. His release date is November 23, 2041. Co-defendant Ryan Carroll, also known as Ronnie Boo, pled guilty to participating in the RICO conspiracy and to discharging a firearm during a drug trafficking crime and a crime of violence. On October 16, 2013, he was sentenced to serve 210 months in federal prison. Co-defendants Carey Jones, Burnell Williams, and China Stewart also pled guilty to various charges in the indictment. Although there are convictions in this matter, I must stress that an indictment is not evidence of guilt. Charges are only allegations, and each defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Blessings.